Welcome to the Schneps Media Cannabis Industry Power Players Edition. We are here with State Senator Diane Savino, who helped champion this marijuana-related bill. So we'll learn all about her efforts and what she sees as happening when it comes to the rules and regulations moving forward into 2022. So welcome, Senator Savino.
Back in 2013, I took on the issue of introducing a modernized version of a medical cannabis bill in New York State. Previous versions of the bill had been introduced going back to the 1990s. Assemblymember Dick Gottfried, who was my colleague in the Assembly who carried the companion bill there, he introduced a bill back in, I think, 1995, but it never really gained any traction. It was always somewhat of a joke. And along the way over the years, other states had moved forward. States like Colorado and Alaska and a lot of red states. You know, people always think of marijuana policy as like a liberal lefty thing. But most of the states that moved forward first and did it by public referendum were Republican states. So marijuana is a bipartisan issue. So again, back in 2013, I decided to introduce the bill. And I'm somewhat of a serious legislator. So by the time New York was looking at it and I was looking at it, 23 other states had already adopted medical marijuana programs. And so what I wanted to see was who had done it in a way that made the most sense for New York. You know, New York is a great state. Sometimes we lead, sometimes we follow. And in this state, in this instance, we were definitely following. So the first thing I did is I got on a plane and I went with some other people. We traveled to Colorado and we visited grow houses. If you've never been in a grow house, it is quite an experience. I suggest you bring a change of clothes when you leave there because you will stink to the high heavens. But we got to see what the industry in Colorado looked like. And it was in the middle of change there as well, because they had done it by public referendum. And then they also amended it through a legislative process. So it was an interesting dynamic, but because of the continuing challenges of a federal government that treats marijuana illegally, you had marijuana grow houses and you had large amounts of cash side by side in vaults. And I got to watch one of the license holders deliver their tax revenue to the Department of Tax and Finance in bags full of cash. And the cash smelled as bad as the marijuana did. So it was really quite an eye-opening experience. I've been to other states, to California, to Nevada, to Rhode Island, to Connecticut, to Massachusetts, to see the good, the bad, and the ugly, to help develop a program for New York. And we were successful in passing the first version of medical cannabis in 2014, convincing Governor Cuomo to do it. He was a very difficult negotiator, kind of forced us to create a very narrow program. And then we spent the next 5 years improving the program until eventually we got to adult use. That was adopted in March of 2021 this year, and it'll go live next year.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting. And I'm wondering from a legislative perspective, is it typical for a state legislator from New York to travel to other states to learn how they do things?
It has not been my experience that other members do that. I recommend it all the time, especially when it's something as important as this, because again, it's not just that you're creating a new industry, which is what we're doing. We're creating a new industry that the federal government says is illegal. So you can only do something illegal within the four corners of your own state. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting when you try and imagine that. So there's always been an illegal marijuana market. It's thriving. It's everywhere. It's not hard to get pot. I mean, you know, you can sit home and on your phone and there's an app for it and people deliver it to your house. It's like almost like Grubhub. So we're going to have to create a legal marketplace, develop rules and regulations for an industry that has to operate within a structure that New York says is legal, but the federal government says is not. Creates all sorts of financial problems for them, banking problems, taxation problems, workers' compensation issues, unemployment issues, a whole host of problems. All the things that a traditional business takes for granted is illegal by, for federal purposes. All at the same time where it's much easier to stay in the illegal marketplace and make money and do it all in cash and no one bothers you. But the challenge is, I think, tremendous, but the opportunities for New York State and for small entrepreneurs is really huge. And if we do it right, we will lead the way, and we'll have the best marketplace in the country.
Now, as an experienced senator, realistically, how long do you think it'll take to get these rules and regs? Because some of the industry folks I've spoken to said, oh, we could have them like next month. But some, maybe more of the veterans have said, maybe this could take another year.
It likely will. So there are some rules, there are some reasons for that. When you create rules and regs, there's a time frame that the law says it has to take. So it could take we anticipate that the Office of Cannabis Management, which is now fully staffed and operational, will issue the first draft of regulations for multiple types of licenses. Under the medical program, there was one license where it was called a vertically integrated license, where you do everything from seed to sale. The adult use will not be. There'll be multiple licenses so people can get in at various points. That was very important. Not everyone has the money to do everything from seed to sale. So there'll be multiple licenses. They have to go out for what's called a public comment period, which is 60 days. That has to come back. They'll incorporate the public comments into the regulations, and they'll be reissued. And then the licenses will be put out for bid. And so the turnaround can take 60 days, 90 days, another 30, so it could take up to a year before the final licenses are issued.
Right. So that could impact. Now I was learning about the crop cycle, because this needs to be planted because it takes 6 months to grow. So
yes. In the interim, though, the medical, those who hold medical licenses will have the opportunity to get into the adult use market early in a very limited way, so that they don't dominate the marketplace. That was also important to the drafters of the bill. We don't want what they call big marijuana, which I find amusing, to dominate. But we do want to also have some legal product available for people to purchase in a way that, you can feel comfortable walking into a dispensary in your own community, knowing that the product you're buying has been tested, it's safe, it doesn't have pesticides, it hasn't been contaminated with, other drugs. So we want to be able to get that going sooner rather than later. So that will be available much sooner, possibly by summer. And then the adult use should be available. And then on top of it, there's a very exciting concept of the hemp market. And people don't think about hemp and all of the various uses for hemp industrial products.
Okay, well, that's what the holdup is. For anyone wondering, it takes our legislators time to pine through everything and make sure it's safe and makes sense for everyone. So thank you for all your hard work on this, Senator, and we look forward to big things in 2022.
Me too. Thank you.